5.
The following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
On today's show, throughout the course of the program, Cupid will be making a personal appearance. Well, actually, he won't be here. No. He will be slinging arrows at Joe Biden. These arrows will be memory enhancers. Maybe that'll help. Who knows? We'll talk about that, of course. Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Talk with a Purpose. Every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi, also heard on 1450 AM and always online at WPGTalkRadio.com. Those are all the ways you can listen, and listen, we hope you will, because we got a lot to talk about, huh? I mean, I was kind of going through the week, and I said, gee, what am I going to talk about this Saturday? And, it just comes up to the different things. And then all of a sudden, Thursday night, I hear this bombshell, and we'll talk about the Biden situation and, of course, the other situation with President Trump. And so we got a lot to talk about. Of course, it's you and me against the world for the next 3 hours. No guests, just talking about whatever we talk about. And we welcome your participation at 609-407-1450, 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. And at any time during the course of the program, if you have something you want to add to the show, feel free to do that, 609-407-1450. So, as I was saying, I started to think about what I was going to talk about, and, I was like, I don't really know. I don't really have a handle on what it is I'm going to talk about. And then, of course, we had two incidents on Thursday, the bombshell about the White House, and then, of course, the mini bombshell about President Trump. So we'll get to the Trump situation in just a moment. But, this thing has really come to a head because, in case you didn't hear this, a special counsel released a report Thursday finding evidence that President Biden willfully retained and shared highly classified information when he was a private citizen, including documents about military and foreign policy in Afghanistan. But the report concluded, the special counsel's report concluded that criminal charges were not warranted. I know what you're saying. If it was Trump, oh boy, you better believe they'd throw the book at him. If it was Trump, and recently, he would be charged, and he was. But the administration is saying this was different. Al, that one I don't know. The report from special counsel Robert Hur, no criminal charges were warranted. Can you say double standard? Of course you can. Well, here's the interesting and, I think, very damaging part if you're Joe Biden. The report characterized Biden as being an old man who probably didn't have memory of a lot of things from 5 or 8 or 10 years ago. I mean, there was one thing they said there, he didn't remember when his son died. I mean, I remember when his son died. It was 2015. So the report said that the advanced age of Biden made him forgetful, and the possibility of innocent explanations for the records that they could not refute. You got to be kidding me. I talked to Judge Donio during the week. He will most likely come on next week and he'll give us his take on this. But can you imagine? He's too old. He's too frail. Look, we can't mount, or his attorneys can't mount a defense for him because he probably forgot. Oh, in other words, he's too old and too frail. Too forgetful. And this is the President of the United States. I mean, this is just, it's an incredible explanation of this whole thing. So it brings into question the fact that Biden is now 81, and if elected, and that's a big if, he will be 86 when he leaves office. Now, much of this occurred when Biden left office as the vice president and he was a private citizen. They also found classified documents in his basement. And you know, they showed the picture. It's just stuff in a box. Oh, it's in the garage with the Corvette. Okay. Documents from the Obama administration and records from his time in the Senate in the 70s and 80s. I mean, they found a smorgasbord of stuff. So in other words, this is all the things that they found. And he said, well, he's not in legal trouble. He's not in legal trouble. But it's an embarrassment for Joe Biden, who placed competency and experience at the core of his bid for re-election. By the way, Fox carried the address to the nation. I think it was Thursday night. It was about 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. And Fox carried it. And I flipped around. The other networks didn't carry it. Isn't that ironic? They didn't carry it. Why? It wasn't important?
WPG.
It wasn't an important issue? Well, if it was Trump, of course, they would have carried it. But the bottom line is that people have said, and in surveys everywhere, they've said that Biden and his age concerns them. Well, now the court or the special counsel is saying it. So other people are saying it. So it's just a question of whether Biden is competent or not. Well, apparently the special counsel didn't think he was.
Thank you.
So it's just an incredible situation. And, you know, Biden comes on and he says, oh, well, you know, my memory's great. Oh, it's just fine. And how could they say that I forgot when my son died? How dare they say that? You know, all the typical stuff that you would say when you're making a refuting argument against this. So he's just, you know, he's constantly defending himself. But the special counsel saying, well, he's kind of old and frail, and they're validating what people have said all along. And, you know, Fox got a little carried away. Oh, Newt Gingrich said, Kamala should take over and he should resign. Look, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But the special counsel has spoken, and they say he's too old and he's too frail. So what more could you say about President Biden than that? Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We bring in the man, the myth, the legend. He's all of those. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity. Seth, good morning.
Good morning. And there's been a lot of discussion at our Liberty and Prosperity breakfast. They're every Saturday morning, 9:30 to 10:30, and everyone's welcome to share an opinion. Just pay for your own breakfast. And if you're listening to on Saturday, it's this morning. If you're listening on Sunday, come next week. But a lot of us in that discussion are getting beyond Biden. And it may be a big mistake to attack Biden's awful, Biden this, Biden that. Because if you've been following what's on Twitter and what's on what the left and the Democrats are saying, I think they're also done with Biden. And we're trying to picture the scenario of what's going to happen when he's replaced. He could easily step down for health. He makes Kamala Harris the first black female president. And the deal is that she takes office, but she's not going to be the candidate, and it'll be somebody else, like a Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania or even a Michelle Obama. But the danger of attacking Biden is that once Biden is gone, then the Democrat will have a clean slate. And I think the Republicans are making a big mistake by not saying, well, Biden is obviously senile. He's obviously not running things. Well, who has been running things during the past 2 or 3 years, and start identifying how really Barack Obama is really in his third term here, because they're all his top people. He's calling all the shots. And the real danger is when the Democrats replace Biden and Kamala Harris, they'll still have all the Obama top people running things with a fresh face. And I think that's the danger of not holding who's really responsible, which is Biden and this really woke, extreme radical Democrats. And Biden is just really the puppet or the figurehead. But that's what we've been talking about for the past 2 or 3 weeks at our breakfast. And anyone with a different opinion or wants to add to it is welcome to come.
Well, who is running the government? Do you know?
Well, obviously people are making decisions. You have the border. Somebody decided that 8 million illegals could come into this country and be given all sorts of benefits. Somebody has decided, to go to support Iran, to support the Hamas terrorists. Somebody is doing that. It's obviously not Biden. So who is? Connect the dots. Who are the top appointees? And I think that's the type of stuff that you really should be seeing on a network like Fox News, to give you the real information instead of superficial attacks. And of course, that leads into something else, because Jesse Waters, our featured speaker for our Liberty and Prosperity fundraiser, was talked about on Fox, and Craig Calloway has been national news on the Epoch Times. On Elon Musk tweeted about him. But notice how very, very superficial. It's almost as if Fox News wants to get mad and blame everything on bad people, but nothing gets done, nothing changes, and then they go on to their next hot button issue. So, that's the kind of stuff we talk about.
Wow. It should be lively this morning.
I would think so. But anyway, let's go back, on the Craig Calloway issue, because you could see how both the Democrats and the Fox News Republicans have their simple explanation. Why they make a national story out of Craig Calloway? Well, the Democrats want to say, mail-in ballots are fine. The way we do elections is fine. We just have these rotten, horrible criminals like Craig Calloway, and he did all these horrible things. And in fact, he was even working for Republicans. So the Democrats have a reason to blame everything on Craig Calloway. And, of course, the Republicans, the Jesse Waters thing was, we would have won the election in 2000, but it was just evil people like Craig Calloway. And they bring up the criminal cases from 20 years ago that had absolutely nothing to do with, the ballot harvesting that Craig Calloway was doing. But let's look at the heart of the issue. The heart of the issue is that until about 20 or 30 years ago, we had one election day. People had to register to vote ahead of time. You couldn't register to vote at the last minute. If you didn't live where you said you lived, you couldn't vote. There were challengers for both sides before you voted. Everything was public. Now, every kitchen table is a polling place where there's no secret ballot. There's all sorts of undue influence going on. And by the way, as a lawyer, I learned something very interesting. People are more willing to lie by signing a piece of paper than to lie in person in a courtroom. So I noticed that you're much more likely to have fake voting or fake affidavits when people sign a paper, because then they could say, well, I didn't know what I was signing. But if they have to show up in person in front of a judge, I've had many cases where people who were going to lie suddenly said, oh, yeah, I really didn't mean that. And so there's a benefit to make people, if you want to vote, come to the polls, once a year. It's not too much of an obligation. So you know who's voting, and you could see where they live, and you could look them in the eye and see if they're evasive or not. And that's completely gone for our elections. And Craig Callaway didn't create this system. This was created over the past 40 or 50 years because the Democrats were unhappy that Ronald Reagan won the election. They were unhappy that Republicans had big majorities in New Jersey, as hard as it is to believe, in California. So the Democrats, for 40, 50 years, they had this campaign to change the way we voted. And they also opened up the floodgates of the immigration to change, so they could suddenly change the way we elect people. But if you come right down to the whole problem with the mail-in ballots and with the last-minute registration and with the provisional ballots and this whole mess, it all comes down to the Democrats, made this big lie. They said American democracy was faulty because we had a low voter turnout. We had to increase voter turnout. Now, why did you have poor voter turnout? Well, it wasn't poor. It meant that you have about 20% of the population is sick, they're drunk, they're out of it, they don't care, they have personal problems, and they were not voting. And it's a good thing that these no motivation, forget low information voters, you're talking about no information voters. We couldn't say that we're better off if people who know nothing about the election, care nothing about the election, and are going to vote for whoever the last person who talks to them tells them to vote for. We should not have our country determined by those voters. But yet the Democrats changed the system, and most of those people would never go out in person to vote in an election. But if someone knocks on their door and comes to their house, they'll sign a piece of paper, especially if somebody is giving them money or food or drink or something like that. And you can't supervise it because it's in everybody's house, and it takes place over a period of 3 or 4 weeks. So Craig Callaway didn't invent the system. He reminds me of someone like a tax attorney who finds a loophole for his client. Don't blame the crooked attorney, blame the politician who created the loopholes that people take advantage of. But anyway, I think that whoever comes to our event is going to learn a lot more than they know now. It's February 17th. It's a week from today, 9:30 to 10:30 at Josie Kelly's in Summers Point. You could send a check to the Liberty and Prosperity office in Summers Point. You could go to the website. You could pay at the door, although we'd rather know that you're coming in advance. We already have about 40 or 50 paid, so basically half the tickets are sold. We have one person coming up from North Carolina who, like a political consultant, wants to meet Craig Callaway and learn, how he perfected this system. And I think it's going to be a very interesting event.
Wow. You're getting some national publicity out of this. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But meanwhile, another thing that's very important is I'll be speaking at what's called the Faith and Freedom Coalition. They call it Piles Grove Township, but it's in right outside of Woodstown, Tuesday night. And if you can't come, a lot of your listeners may be in the area, may want to come. It's on the website, libertyandprosperity.com. But we're pointing out that to fix, our immigration problem, fixing the broken border is it's a good start, but not nearly enough. And what we need is to undo the damage, and we need systematic mass deportations. I've been saying that for months, but in our website we have it posted. I'll be giving a speech on Tuesday. But we need a total emergency moratorium on all immigration until we stabilize the current crisis. And there's nothing that Congress could do. This whole nonsense about the compromise bill or the bipartisan bill, the executive power, the ability to execute and enforce laws, that's not with Congress. That's with the president. So we need a president who's willing to enforce the law. And if you don't have a president who enforces the law, you either have to elect a different one or you have to impeach the one you have right now. And we have to immediately arrest and detain and deport all foreigners who entered the United States illegally since Trump became president in 2018. Why? You can't deport 30 or 40 million people at once, but you can start the deportation of 8 million. And that's going to need the full cooperation of law enforcement at the local level, the state level, and we have to prepare to do it. And by the way, someone asked me, well, what about the anchor babies who are born here? Well, you can't amend the Constitution overnight. You can't reverse court decisions overnight. But you can deport the anchor babies with their illegal immigrant parents. I mean, it's hundreds of years of settled family law that if parents are illegal immigrants and they get deported, their kids come with them, whether they're an American citizen or not. And when their children are emancipated 18 years later, then they could go petition to come back in the United States, and that should be plenty of time for us to fix the problem. We have to repeal the 1965 Lyndon Johnson Ted Kennedy law that brings in, it increased the immigration, the legal immigration, by 400%. But anyway, all this stuff is posted at libertyandprosperity.com, and I urge everybody to go have a look at it.
Boy, you just keep piling it on.
And, of course, other things going on. Of course, this is Black History Month, and that raises an interesting thing that we talk about. Like, what is Black history? And what is any history? And what is the purpose of learning history? And the obvious answer is we learn from the past what was done in the past, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you see that people did bad things or stupid things in the past, you learn from their mistakes so you don't repeat them now, and you make a better life for yourself. So the whole point of Black history is, are you telling the whole truth about, what happened to Black Americans or to blacks in history? And if you're telling the whole truth, you could learn from it. But that's obviously not what Black history is all about. You only hear about, every story that's told in Black history, every white person is a villain. You're not told about any of the negative things in Black history. I mean, are you ever told about the Black Arabs or the Black Africans who sold and captured other blacks into slavery? Did you ever hear about Haiti? Haiti was created at the same time the United States was created, except instead of guaranteeing equal rights for all, the black leaders of that revolt in Haiti, they killed all the whites, took their property, and that make it a prosperous place? No. Haiti is the most miserable country in the world. And more poverty, more violence, more corruption, more everything. So why would you not want to teach the truth about Haiti? At the same time, there are many sympathetic whites involved in Black history, but yet none of their stories are ever told. John Brown, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, General Sherman, the Underground Railroad, those stories are not taught, the whites who did that. So you get an artificial propaganda that all blacks are good, all whites are evil, and that is really tearing America apart. So either we have to bring the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly into Black history, or I guess we have to have a White History Month, because how else can all Americans learn about the Carnegie, the people who invented mass production of steel, the Rockefellers who made energy and oil affordable, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Henry Ford invents the mass-produced automobile. And by the way, who did more to promote women's rights? Was it the women's right to vote, or was it the men who invented the washing machine, ready-made clothing, frozen foods, the electric iron, wash and wear clothes, and canned food? What about, what did they do? They allowed women to have the time and get an education and achieve equality in society. So we're teaching a very distorted history, and because we teach a distorted history, we're getting a very dysfunctional present. So that's one other thing to talk about.
I want you to go on a national campaign to have a White History Month. I want to see where that goes.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, we have a whole list of successful people. Just two more points before as I wrap up. Something that got zero attention in the media is that they had the federal budget numbers came out. And it said that the federal government took in, for this year, $4.9 trillion, spent $6.5 trillion, which meant we spent $1.6 trillion more than we took in. And we now have a total deficit, a total debt of $34 trillion. And of course, those numbers mean nothing to anybody. But if you put it in terms of a household, it's like a family that earns $49,000 a year. They spend $65,000 a year, and they just added in 1 year, they added $16,000 to their credit card debt, and now they owe a total of $340,000 on their credit cards.
Ooh.
How many families could go on doing that year after year?
Not many.
And the answer is a family can't do it, and neither can a country. The same rules apply. And I guess the final point before I go, of course, the Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin. If you want to know how communist leaders have been manipulating and using American journalists for 100 years, and Tucker Carlson is just the most recent one, just go to the homepage of our libertyandprosperity.com website, where we have the whole video. And if you don't want to watch a video, we have the transcript as written. It's only like 2 or 3 minutes of reading. See how a guy called Yuri Bezmenov, where his whole job, his whole career, was to mislead American journalists like Tucker Carlson. And in fact, he bragged about how he completely fooled Ted Kennedy when Ted Kennedy came to Russia back in the 1980s. Anyway, I'm late for the libertyandprosperity.com meeting. If you're listening on Saturday, 9:30 to 10:30, and again, all the stuff is posted on the libertyandprosperity.com website.
Seth, thank you, as always. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity, the website libertyandprosperity.com, and the meeting is starting right now at Sal's Coal Fire Pizza on Groveland Avenue in Summers Point. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We'll get started with our calls. We have Lance, we have Craig, and we have Andy, and maybe we'll have you too at 609-407-1450. More Talk with a Purpose after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
And we are back here on Talk with a Purpose. Let's get started with the calls. We have Lance in Galloway. Lance, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, good morning, John. I just wanted to know whether or not you see the parallels of the 2020 presidential campaign where back then the 51 former top intelligence officials, they all signed that wonderful letter saying that the Hunter laptop thing was a hoax and all that. Well, after that bombshell, like you had mentioned in your opening, in regards to Biden being, basically an imbecile. Basically, I called him the version of AI, an arrogant imbecile. But, that's, I'm trying to be, speak with clarity.
Okay.
But everybody, all the, talking heads stations all rallied around, and then Kamala Harris came out with her, stumbling, bumbling word salad about how it was gratuitous to that this guy, how dare he say this? And then everybody who thinks they're a neurologist comes up and says the same thing. So in a way, they're playing the same thing, but they're not doing it by having a letter signed, but they're doing it by, basically just talking and putting it out there on talking points. And the thing is, that guy, Ian Sams, the guy that came out for the White House Counsel and spoke yesterday afternoon, that guy is not a word salad guy. He's a word blender. He didn't stop. He was like a Gatling gun telling everybody. And then when somebody did ask a pertinent and simple, easy question, he disregarded it. And it's unbelievable, the flippant, arrogant attitude of how they defend an imbecile. And
it's
been, I got news for you. I don't know who's running the asylum, but there's a lot of fake keys being let out.
It really is. You're right. It's unbelievable how they've really rallied against Biden or for Biden. And Kamala Harris, well, she's another story. I mean, but it's just incredible how the special counsel reported basically saying he's incompetent. That's what they said. So
John, you know what they say sometimes, certain species eat their own. And once they use this guy and her, and they put him up there, and they did it, and he stayed within budget. I mean, he kept it under $5 million as compared to the Mueller investigation, which was almost like a quarter, $25 million. I think it was $23 million. It's just unfortunate that people don't take the time to just read and listen to other viewpoints and, be resourceful whether or not something truly has validity and passes the smell test.
The
DNC, the Democratic National Committee, they are nothing more than just scratch and sniff people that will sell you rotten fish and tell you it's caviar. So,
thanks for the call, Lance. That's a good one. I never thought of it that way. Oh, Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. We have Craig and we have Andy, and maybe we'll have you at 609-407-1450. We'll get to those calls after the break. But first, we want to tell you, all right, so you're having a big game party, or as we say, a Super Bowl party. All right. So what do you want to do? You want to make your life easy? Of course you do. You call BF Mazzio and you say, look, I'm having a party for, let's say, 20, and I need this and I need that and I need this. They have a full catering menu. You didn't know that, did you? You just go online, bfmazzio.com. That's bfmazzio.com, and you see the full line. I mean, it's all kinds of things. So that's really how you make your life easy. And then you just buy the the napkins and the dishes, plastic, of course, and that's all you do. And you got your party. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road in Northfield, and again, online at bfmazzio.com. Also, you know what's coming up? Valentine's Day. And you're saying, well, what does BF Mazzio have for Valentine's Day? And I'll tell you what, did you ever see those fruit flowers? I mean, I used to get my mother that every year, and she loved it. So that's what you do. And they have chocolate-covered strawberries. I mean, you can make yourself a hero just by contacting BF Mazzio. Of course, it's fresh fruit and produce, it's prepared foods, it's baked goods, it's fruit baskets, gift baskets, you name it, they got it. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road in Northfield, and online at bfmazzio.com. That's bfmazzio.com. But you better get started because the big game's tomorrow. So you better give them a chance to get your order together. 601 New Road Northfield, and again, online at bfmazzio.com. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently number one when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. You're invited to attend a very important and informative seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center Meeting Room 5. The seminar will feature Joe Yankovich, host of The Heart of Your Money, heard right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Joe will discuss tax management and income strategies in retirement. And of course, we'll answer any and all of your questions. Stay informed and up to date. Attend this important seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. You can register online. Simply go to jmlfinancialgroup.com and click on the link. See you at the seminar.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. We do have a coastal flood advisory in effect until the early afternoon hours today. For today, warm with variable clouds, a stray shower this afternoon with a high of 64. For tonight, mild with increasing amounts of clouds, low 47. Tomorrow, cooler, cloudy in the morning, then times of clouds and sun in the afternoon with a high of 52. I'm AccuWeather's Caitlin Lawrence on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
And we're back here on Talk with a Purpose, 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. Let's talk to Craig in Northfield. Craig, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Well, good morning, John. How are you today?
Good. I'm good. How about you?
Oh, terrific. Woke up and, here and a couple things going on this week. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a really interesting week, I'll tell you.
Well, some of the things that were like hidden. Did you hear? Did you ever hear that thing called spotting, where they call the cops? There's a shooter in the house.
Yeah.
For Margie Taylor Greene, remember that?
Yes.
They found them. He had a business, and doing that. 17 years old from California.
Jeez.
I got a G's out of you, so you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
17 years old here, these people are that sick. Talk about Trump derangement syndrome. But, the guy that did the paperwork for Biden, I heard you today, with all those boxes, in the garage.
Yeah.
That you could take a knife and cut.
With the Corvette.
Well, the guy that released him used to work for Comey. you know, in the Comey FBI.
Oh,
so, you know, guys, put the pieces of the puzzle together. You know, that's why us, the tinfoil hat group has to, you know, kind of help you out with that sometimes.
Yeah.
But, John, we didn't talk enough about the cops that got beat up last week. I wanted to discuss that with you a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Did you see that? And then they got out?
Yeah, that
right?
I saw that the criminals got out before the cops did out of the hospital. Yeah.
So let's talk about the justice system in New York now. So let's say you rob a store. You saw what they do. They take Harry's even discussing it. They got on bikes, these electric bikes. They grab the woman, boom, pull her, bang her into a pole, and they got her pocketbook and they steal the money. Or if you steal the money from a department store up to $500, you're not going to get arrested. So then they get out right away. And you know what they do? They take that money and then they go down to Florida and then they do business legally with that money that they stole from New York that they know they can't get arrested from. That's what's wrong with this country right now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But couple things. You did mention, Alexis, you did a great thing there. You saw Ford lost $1 billion with the electric cars.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Toyota didn't go electric. They went hybrid, and they had a record profit this week.
Yeah,
okay.
good.
I know I got to close quick here, and I'm going to say two things. One, I'm going for the Chiefs. There's no way that, Taylor Swift is going to fly that far and not get a ring. Okay. And
an engagement ring or a Super Bowl ring?
I think I'm talking about the carbon footprint. She's making a carbon footprint. She's going to get a carbon ring. Anyway, let's talk about our girl Haley and the RNC this week. Was that something? It was like a trifecta, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
None of the above. I hear Seth talking about that. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
The people, but Seth didn't mention that the people disliked her so much from Nevada, they wouldn't even give her. They went nobody.
None of the above. Yeah.
None of the above.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, huh?
That is as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson was the guy of the week and you saw what Putin said to Tucker about that explosion underground. Remember that oil line that we discussed on this radio?
Yes.
What did he say? He said he thinks the CIA did it. Putin said that. I said that to you on radio.
Yeah. You did. You did.
I'm going to get off now because I've got a busy line here. Good luck with the Super Bowl, John.
Thanks for the call, Craig. Appreciate it. Do we have to root for Andy Reid? I still got it in for him. I mean, I'm an Eagles fan. Still got it in for him when he was here. He didn't do here what he did there. Go figure. Andy in Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. It's a great day in Brigantine.
Yes, it is.
I predicted here a long time ago that what they were going to do with Biden in order to protect him from all of the crime that he's committed was because it was clear to everybody that the man is senile. We've all watched it, okay? They were going, in order to be prosecuted for a crime and to stand trial, you have to be cognizant. You have to be aware of what you're being charged with, and you have to be in a position where you can defend yourself, okay? You have to be mentally competent to stand trial.
Yeah.
So the goal was to drag this out, to run out the clock to the point where Joe Biden was no longer cognizant, and then it would be obvious to everybody, even the left-wingers, that he was not cognizant, so that they could then use the defense, well, we can't prosecute him because he doesn't understand. He doesn't remember. He's senile. And that's exactly what they did. He's going to walk not only on the documents, which he did, but he's going to walk on everything he did with Hunter, Burisma, China, Ukraine. He's going to walk on all of it because he's now been declared non-compos mentis by his own DOJ. All right? So think about this. So they said that he had significant limitations to his memory, and that he would, quote, he would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview of him. This is the Robert Hirsch speaking, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him, by then a former president, well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. But let's remember, all of the crimes that Joe Biden has committed, he did while he was completely lucid.
That's right. That's right.
So the fact that you're senile now, does that get you off?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, that's right.
Now, here's the other thing I mentioned. Haven't these people been saying for weeks now that Donald Trump has lost it?
Yeah.
He mixes up Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi, okay? They keep dragging that up. Well, wait a minute. If Trump has lost it, if Trump is senile and mixing up Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley, then he shouldn't be prosecuted for his documents either.
No.
Because he's in a position where he can't defend himself. Am I wrong?
No. It's definitely a double standard. Definitely a double standard. Yeah.
All right. So now Joe Biden, the worst thing Joe Biden did was that, I don't know what you want to call it. It wasn't really a press conference. They only asked a couple of questions. I don't know if you watched it, but I will tell you, when in the afternoon when this was first released, Joe Biden came out, and it was as if they had his double out there speaking. He was lucid. He was sharp. He was energetic. He didn't fumble or stumble once. And he came out in the evening. He wasn't quite as good, but of course in the evening he's shot. He wasn't quite as good, but he was still pretty good.
Yeah.
The mistake he made was when he walked away, and then he came back, and he mixed up once again another world leader, Al-Sisi. He said was the president of Mexico when he's actually the president of Egypt. Now, Joe Biden is now he got angry, which is one of the telltale signs of dementia. Anybody that challenges him, he gets nasty. He said, he told Peter Doocy, I'm an elderly man and I know what I'm doing. Well, if that were true, if Joe Biden were in fact an elderly man and he knew what he was doing, like Ronald Reagan was, okay, he wouldn't have to say that. The truth would be self-evident and we would all see that.
Yes.
You don't have to try to convince us of something if it's already true. So when you're explaining, you're losing. So what Biden did in the evening, he came out to assuage people's concerns about his mental ability and his temperament, and instead he confirmed all of them. He confirmed what everybody has been thinking about him. It's like 3/4 of the country now says Biden is not mentally fit to be the president. I mean, John, he didn't remember when his son died. Now, not for anything. Every time he gets an opportunity, he talks about how his son died in Iraq, which is a lie. He's always bringing it up.
Yeah.
He brought it up again recently when the soldiers were brought to Dover. He brought it up again when he made that phone call to the family of the one young lady, Kennedy, who got killed in overseas last week by that drone. Okay, so he's the one who's always bringing up Bo, but yet when they asked him when Bo died, he couldn't get within several years of the actual year of his death.
Yes.
And then he talked about the other night that he wears the rosary beads that around his wrist that Bo was wearing when he died. Okay, well, he couldn't even remember. He said the lady of, he couldn't remember Guadalupe. He couldn't remember that. I mean, it's obvious to everybody. Now here's what kills me. You mentioned the double standard. So listen. So when Joe Biden, and one of the defenses was when he actually did this interview with the special counsel, that he was under stress because Israel had just been attacked on October 7th.
Yes.
So he was under the stress of dealing with all of that. So that's what made him forgetful during this interview with Robert Hur. Okay? All right. Let's say that's true. Let's give him that, all right? Now, look at how they treat Donald Trump. But when Donald Trump mixes up Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi, it isn't because he's under 91 indictments. It isn't because he's involved in multiple court cases, fighting for his reputation or his life's work, his money, his right to continue to run his business. It isn't because he's fighting to stay out of jail for the rest of his life in the midst of running for re-election in the most important election in the history of the country. No, it isn't for any of those reasons Trump mixed up Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi. In Trump's case, it's because he's non-compos mentis. You don't think Trump's got plenty on his mind that might put him under stress?
Oh, yeah.
He might mix somebody up?
Yeah.
But Biden gets the pass.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Andy, thanks a lot for the call. I really appreciate that. Yeah, good points. Talk with the Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Got some open lines. If you want to jump in here, 609-407-1450, 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. We're coming back with final thoughts in hour number 1 after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Okay, we are back here on Talk with a Purpose. 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. And we will talk to Al in Corbin City. Al, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I think, I know this has been brought up, but I mean, when he was a senator, he was taking these documents. When he was vice president, and he didn't have, they were trying to say that he had executive privileges. I believe the executive privileges are only for the president of the United States.
Right.
And Donald Trump, when he took those things, he was the president. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how, and they're saying he didn't cooperate. Well, if my memory serves me right, when the FBI came, he just let them in and told them then if they wanted to take something, they could take it.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, no, we'll just throw another lock on it. They asked him to put it on, and he put a lock on it, another lock on it. Okay? This stinks to high heaven.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
Come on. And, they did it on purpose because they wanted to pull the rate, because they wanted to have that optics on television for the low information voters that just listen to CNN and NBC.
Oh, yeah.
And these.
Yeah. Yep. I think it was 6 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it? Wasn't it 6 o'clock?
It was.
Yeah.
and they happened the news channel just happened to be there at that time.
Yeah.
It just happened to be there with an accident. They were driving by. And,
yeah, sure.
Did you see that? I mean, I think they think we're really, really stupid.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And if he's not competent to do what to go to court How can he be competent right now to run the country?
You know, that's the question. You know, a special counsel says
he's Batman. Riddle me that. You know,
he's not competent to stand trial because he would forget. Well, he's running the country. What is it? This is a joke.
It's no surprise that everything's so screwed up because he's got these wackos in there that are actually running the country. Susan Rice, Yellen.
Yeah.
I mean, she's horrible, and he does a great. The only thing he's done is give us 60,000 more at IRS agents, so he can try to get the money from all that money that he's taken out. You know how many trillions they've taken out of Social Security?
Yeah.
And and now they're saying, well, it's going to go broke. You guys have been stealing and robbing that thing blind for years.
Yeah.
Now when it comes to the point that we need it, I'm a senior. And every time I turn around, they're looking for another way to get some money out of it.
Yeah, it's just incredible. It is.
I wanted to get hearing aids. Oh, I can get the cheapest. The only thing that covered hearing aids was the cheapest ones I could buy, not chargeable. I have to buy the batteries all the time, or I have to pay $500 to get the one that's chargeable. And I said to her, I looked it up online. I could buy the same damn thing for a quarter of the price that the insurance companies is paying out. But I can't do that. And I said to them, why not? Why shouldn't I be able to go and I get the top of the line one for $1,000, and they're giving them $1,200 per ear. And still they want $500 more for the chargeable. I could get the top of the line everything for $1,000.
Jeez.
I said, it's a waste of money.
It's really, yeah. It's
a sham. I mean, between Big Pharma and these insurance companies, it's ridiculous.
That's true. That's true. Al, thanks a lot for the call. We are rapidly coming to a close. Hour number 1 is in the books. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. Hour number 2 on the way. We'll start with Mary in Marlton and maybe you at 609-407-1450. We'll talk about Trump and the Supreme Court and the arguments, and it's another unbelievable story. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose. You know what we say. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
0.5.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And as the man said, I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. A lot more to talk about here on the show. Boy, there's never been a moment where on this show we haven't had anything to talk about. 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. And she's been waiting patiently, and we'll bring her on. Mary in Marlton. Mary, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. I listened to a podcast by Gen Xer, Tim Pool, and he revealed some very interesting statistics, actually facts, which, according to his podcast, in 2023, the Democrat Party raised $119 million. The RNC raised $87 million. And Turning Point USA raised $55 million, which is astounding because many people are not happy with what they're seeing coming out of the RNC, particularly who they're supporting with Nikki Haley. And Turning Point, $55 million, which is a conservative group, mostly Christians, and they're brave. They're going on college campuses. And according to his other statistic, the RNC started 2024 with $8 million in cash. That's all they had. And we see here in New Jersey, there is no one being supported for the Senate position that may be vacated by Menendez, and very little spending going on. So it does make one wonder, will Turning Point become the alternative party at some point? Because they do reveal a lot of wonderful information. And a lot of the journalism that's being done and breaking news is coming from these independents like Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, David Crowder, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Rebel News, Officer Tatum, Larry Else. One does have to wonder when you see $55 million being raised, and they're getting tremendous support, and they are attracting young people all over campuses because they're willing to defend what they believe in one-on-one conversation. So I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, I didn't know. Thank you. I wasn't aware of that. I really wasn't. I didn't know that. So you've told me something I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't either, but Tim Pool does a lot of good investigating. His podcast appeals to a lot of young people. I'm not really sure, that, Fox News doesn't appeal to Gen Xers, Gen Z, and this is the future. And when we see that they're donating their money to Turning Point, it does give me hope. Yeah,
it does. Mary, thank you. Appreciate the call. Living the life of Riley, as they say. Bob is in Florida. Bob, good morning.
Hey, good morning, John. Hey, look, my friend Seth Grossman and I, we usually are absolutely in line on issue after issue, but, Tucker Carlson going over to Russia, interviewing Putin, we never got, in this country, we have not gotten their perspective. We have not gotten Putin's rationale for going into the Ukraine. Now, I can say historically, Ukraine has been subjugated to Russian terror for a long, long time. But it seems to be a historical fact that parts of Ukraine currently parts of Ukraine are ethnically Russian. This is Russian blood, Russian culture. These are Russian people. So I understand Putin's desire to incorporate them into the Russian nation. I understand that. And, that is something that I think the American people should have the right to know. We also should have the right to know that, and one of the callers brought this up, the idea that Putin would blow up his own gas pipeline, which caused a huge environmental disaster. That pipeline that was blown up under, I think it was the North Sea, could have been the Black Sea. I'm not sure which sea it was, but anyway, that supplied Western Europe, particularly Germany. That caused all sorts of havoc economically in Europe. Again, as I said, it was an environmental catastrophe, and in all likelihood, our CIA was complicit, our government was complicit in blowing that pipeline up. So, again, it's not that it's very easy for us to paint to have good black and white, good and bad. It's not always like that. There's nuance there. The reasons a war happens, they're not always cut and dry. And one big point that is never brought up by our establishment politicians, by the people in the Ukraine war lobby, is that there was a peace agreement on the table a few months after that war broke out where Ukraine agrees to stay neutral. Okay, there may have been an annexation of a Russian-speaking territory, not that large a territory, but there may have been some territory ceded to Russia, but the fighting would have stopped. The Ukraine borders would have been guaranteed, and the Putin's big motivation for going into the Soviet Union into Ukraine. The big motivation was that he did not want Ukraine becoming part of NATO. He wanted Ukraine to be neutral. So there was a peace treaty on the table where Ukraine is neutral. They don't lose their autonomy. They don't lose their right to self-govern. But and this peace agreement was torpedoed by the Biden administration. It's out there. That information's out there. The chief negotiator on the Ukraine side put that information out there, but it's been suppressed. So again, I think Tucker's interview is something that is benefiting discourse in this country. We're not going to just continue throwing trillions, or no, I should not say trillions, but billions and billions that we can't afford to Ukraine. Some of these war hawk senators that don't. They're chicken hawks, okay? Some of these senators like Lindsey Graham that want to go bomb and attack everyone in the world. We don't want our young men being maimed and have their lives ruined based on fighting a war that really isn't in our national interest. It isn't really where our American people are not being threatened. Okay, but what you see with these poor young men that have their lives destroyed, and we've had this going on for so long in this country.
Yeah, we have.
Where George W. Bush and it's on both sides. It's not just Democrats. Where they send our young men in harm's way, and our young men should only be sent in harm's way when it's a
threat to us. Yeah,
correct.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I agree.
It's really you see these the charities that help these young men. That some of them are very well.
Yeah,
charities like Tunnel to Towers. You see, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Oh, it sure is.
Poor men go through.
It sure is. Bob, thanks a lot for the call. Yeah, it is, and that's why we send our young boys over there, and I've never been for that. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. 609-407-1450. 609-407-1450. Dan and Greg will get to you in just a moment, but I wanted to mention this. We started the show by talking about two bombshells. We got the real bombshell with Biden and the special counsel, but this was kind of a mini bombshell, and I expected it, to be honest with you. The Supreme Court justices, they haven't formally ruled yet on Donald Trump being on the ballot in Colorado, but there is every indication that they will eventually rule that way. The court appeared to be largely skeptical of the Colorado court's ruling. And listen to this from the liberal side. Justice Elena Kagan, she said, why should a single state have the ability to make this determination not only for their own citizens, but for the rest of the nation? That seems quite extraordinary, doesn't it? And I think that says it all. In looking at this, I feel there's no way that the court can rule in Colorado's favor. Justice Amy Coney Barrett agreed, saying it just doesn't seem like a state call. Jonathan Mitchell, he is an attorney for Donald Trump. He told the justices that Congress, not state courts or officials, enforces the provisions of the 14th Amendment. So there you have it. I don't think that. I just don't think they can rule in the favor of Colorado. I mean, who is one state to say he's not on the ballot? I mean, that's a federal issue, not a state issue. That's my take on it, and apparently that's their take on it, too. Dan in Linwood. Dan, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yeah, what you're saying, Justice Sotomayor basically said, I don't see any due process in there.
Yeah.
Which basically means Donald Trump was branded as an insurrectionist, but he was never charged and he was never convicted.
Right.
So how do you go into the Supreme Court with that?
Yeah, they talk about the cart before the horse, huh?
Yeah, and then you look at the elections in 2020. If you have Secretary of States changing federal election laws instead of the state legislatures, who constitutionally have to change in the United States Constitution, not the Secretary of State, like you said, one person.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan all did that. And the Supreme Court, if they ever had a chance to look at it, they wouldn't take the case for some reason. But if they looked at it, it would have been the same thing.
Yeah.
Why does one person get to make these decisions? And the answer is they don't get to make
That's
them.
right.
They just did it, and people let it go. It's like Joe Biden. I'm going to say that I have a great memory now. So if you do, let's just put it on the table.
Yeah.
Then you have to go to trial. You could either go to trial or you could give up the presidency.
Right.
Because you can't have no memory. And the best example of this was when the generals said, we would like to leave 2,500 troops in Afghanistan, keep Bagram, and then we'll do not a date certain withdrawal over time. And Biden basically overruled them. And when it came to being called on it, and he says, do you realize the generals all told you not to do this? They wanted to leave the troops in. And you know what Biden said?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. So you don't. This is not a kid's game.
Yeah,
you're dealing with lives. $88 billion were left in equipment. You lost the 13 people because you can't tell the folks that on the 22nd in the middle of the afternoon we're going to make our move and take the people out. What are you, nuts? You tell them nothing. If you tell them anything, you tell them a lie.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, if we had him in World War II, we would have all been eating sauerbraten and sushi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank God we didn't.
And practical people have to know, if your documents that you're allowed to take are in a room that is surveilled 24 hours a day and you have Secret Service on the premises, how does that compare to documents you were definitely not to take as a senator, because you have to go into a SCIF and take them out, which you can't do. You got to go in there with nothing in your hands. You got to go out of there with nothing in your hands.
Right.
Biden takes the documents. Then he takes the documents as a vice president. I'm not allowed to do either one of those things.
That's right.
And then where does he put them? He puts them in the University of Penn. He puts an office in Washington that he shares with the Chinese guys. And then the worst is he puts them in the garage in the broken brown box, and he says, "Oh, it's secure."
Yeah.
Secure.
Yeah.
Your choice. You got the Secret Service. You got the 24-hour surveillance, or you got this famous garage that's I guess it's totally secure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's got a Corvette in it, so that's
yeah. But it's my Corvette, and it's a locked garage. He says.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, John, at this point, what do you think? Should the Senate and the Congress do a special session? I would do an emergency impeachment.
I would, but they're not. They're probably not even going to get close to that. But I would.
Do you feel secure that then? Just imagine this: you are the CEO, and your top guy is in the hospital for 5 days, and you don't know about it, and business is running itself basically.
Yeah.
So if this guy Lloyd Austin didn't inform the president, that's not Lloyd Austin's. It's his fault, but it's the president's fault, because the first thing the president should do every morning at 7:00 before he has his cup of coffee and kisses his wife is to basically make a call, to the Defense Department and say, how's things going today?
Yeah.
That's what you do early as the president.
That's right.
Give me a status report right now. And that's the way you start your day. You don't start your day at 10:30 and then have lunch with Kamala at 1:00 and then call a lid on things.
Yeah.
And then go to the second White House in
Rehoboth. Yeah, right. The $4 million Rehoboth Beach mansion.
Well, hopefully that reporter who stood up, and then that liberal reporter who stood up and got shot down by Biden, she said it right. 3/4 of the people believe that he's a little too old to do this thing, and his competency level is not quite there.
That's right.
And you see how he reacted to that. The next thing you know, he had Mexico involved in the Middle East conflict.
Yeah. Dan, thanks a lot for the call. Oh, yeah. Biden is really, and I've said this before, when you get down to it, he is a nasty man. He really, and they've shown some clips of him really honing in on people and angrily attacking, and he really can be nasty. So we'll see. They're not going to impeach him. I mean, I would, but I'm not the Senate, and I'm not the Democratic majority in the Senate. That is. Oh, Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We have Greg and we have Andy, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. But first, as I always say, we're going to talk about the good stuff. We're going to talk about something that's not controversial, and pretty much everyone agrees, whether you drive a Lexus or not, they are one of the finest automobiles on the market today. Consistently ranked in the highest category as far as Consumer Reports and those kind of things. 1, 2, or 3, whatever it is. But it's up there. And, when it comes to Lexus, and, they got this new SUV, and it's the GX or the GTX. I'm sorry, I may have mixed it up. I'm having a Biden moment here. It's the SUV with 3 rows. It's a really, really fabulous car. You'll have to check that out for yourself. Well, you check them all out. You visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, and online at aclexus.com. You'll get all the cars there. They'll show you the pre-owned and the new, and so on. It's just a really pleasant driving experience. Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City. And, I've told you I've driven Lexus now since 2007. Haven't driven anything else. And will not drive anything else. It's just that great of a car. If you want to check it out, Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT, and online, aclexus.com, aclexus.com. We're coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
I'm Seth Grossman for libertyandprosperity.com. Last month, American Thinker published an article I wrote about the war in the Middle East. I call it 13 key facts about Israel that are known by very few Americans. I invite you to Google it or look it up at libertyandprosperity.com. One is that Palestine was never an Arab nation. It was the name that a Roman emperor gave to Israel after he crushed a Jewish rebellion there. Another is that most of Israel or Palestine was mostly empty malaria swamp and desert until about 100 years ago. Most Arabs did not move there until after Jews drained the swamps, watered the deserts, and planted trees and crops. Learn more about these and other important facts about Jews, Christians, and Arabs in and around Israel. Visit libertyandprosperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. libertyandprosperity.com.
You're invited to attend a very important and informative seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. The seminar will feature Joe Yankovich, host of The Heart of Your Money, heard right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Joe will discuss tax management and income strategies in retirement, and of course, will answer any and all of your questions. Stay informed and up to date. Attend this important seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. You can register online. Simply go to jmlfinancialgroup.com and click on the link. See you at the seminar.
Oh, we're back here on Talk with a Purpose. If you want to listen to any of our shows at any time, it's very simple. Google John DeMasi Podcasts and all the shows come up. It's real simple. John DeMasi Podcasts, and there are over 200 shows that will come up. And you can just listen. 209? Whoa. 209 shows. And I always say, what did I talk about on show 151? Who knows? You want to check it out? Go ahead. Google John DeMasi Podcasts, and they all come up. It's pretty simple. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Greg is in Absec. And Greg, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Mr. DeMasi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm curious, the Lexus, is that electric yet?
They have electric cars, but most of them they are producing are hybrids, so it's gas and electric. So yeah, that's
a good idea.
Yeah, that seems to be the better way to go, at least for now.
Yeah, I think Biden is the Justice Department. They convinced us he's ready for Article 25.
Yeah, he is.
Forget about It's crazy. It's time.
Yeah.
Because they've tried it. If they try to impeach him, they slap him on the hand and they send him back to his office.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
We've gone through 3 of them now.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened to all of them.
Yep.
The helicopters that are falling out of the air. Military.
Yeah.
Last week was 8 people died. This week's 5 people died. I think we got a problem with the military. That there was a time when that happened, someone was on TV or the radio, and they were saying, we're going to have an investigation to find out why it's happening.
Yeah.
This is an aberration.
Yeah. Who makes those? Do you know who makes those helicopters?
Well, there's only 2 or 3 that can.
Yeah.
Boeing.
Sikorsky, I think, is another one, right?
Well, yeah. There's 3 majors, and they all have their share of the pie.
Well, the question is, right. Who makes them?
Yeah.
Investigate.
Some of these things have been in service since Vietnam, so.
Yeah.
But then we have aircraft that have been in the air for 30 years.
Yeah.
And without the doors falling off.
Yeah.
The obvious stuff.
Yeah.
Especially they stay up in the air.
Yeah.
The ombudsman bills. I thought that was a thing of the past. That they would not clear their desk of all the bills they want to get through and put it into one package and then we expect these people to come to an agreement when it's coming off of how many desks?
Yeah.
And then one week it's 300 pages. Now it's 577 pages. They either should cancel it, get rid of it, or it's going to continue to grow.
Yeah. Well, streamline it some way. I mean...
Yeah, but they got to do something. They don't agree on anything, and they're just making it worse.
Yeah. You
remember the Marine sick about 7-8 months ago in New York that he inadvertently killed an individual that was going crazy?
Yeah.
He's still in jail.
Jeez.
They gave him a $100,000 bail, and he couldn't make it. So there he sits.
Oh,
we have people running around the streets, killing people, robbing stores, the whole 9 yards. he did something that he thought was correct, and it was correct because it had to be done.
Yeah, that's right.
Otherwise, he was going to physically hurt other people. And he knows the difference between a choke, kill, or restraint.
Yeah, yeah.
He's trained to do it. And I don't think he killed him purposely. It was a total accident, unless the guy had other problems that nobody was aware of. Well, we know he had a couple problems.
Yeah.
He was going crazy on the subway.
Yeah. Did you hear about that 15-year-old that's an illegal? Well, he was in a migrant camp in New York, and he just committed a crime. Did you hear about that? I mean, it's just. I
know there was one on the radio.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah,
he killed. He raped and killed a young.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we let more of these people in? It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah, well, we have our fair share of them now.
Yep, we sure do. Greg, thanks for the call. Andy and Brigantine. Andy, welcome back.
Well, they did arrest the 15-year-old Jesus Figueroa, who shot a tourist in Times Square while he was trying to shoot at the cops. He had injured the two cops, and he actually shot the woman above the knee. It was a tourist in New York City in Times Square. Did you?
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. So they caught that guy, 15 years old, running around with a 45 caliber pistol.
Yeah.
This guy from Venezuela, and let's remember, it was Venezuela specifically that Joe Biden invited into this country, the Venezuelan.
Yeah.
So So any blood is on Joe Biden's hands. It was almost as if Joe Biden fired that weapon himself.
Yep.
And I'll get to impeaching Biden, but your topic about the Supreme Court this week was interesting. The Elena Kagan comment was very interesting.
Yes.
And it was not lost on me that the three liberal judges, jurists, justices, so Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, they seemed to suddenly become constitutionalists. Did you notice that, John? What Kagan said specifically about, basically, is it fair that one state gets to decide who the president is for the other 49?
Yeah.
Well, I hope they save that clip, because the next time somebody bitches and complains about the Electoral College and wants to get rid of it, like Hillary Clinton or Elizabeth Warren, let's remember that without the Electoral College, California and New York would get to choose the president for the other 48 states.
That's right.
Or 57 if you're Barack Obama.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this, before anybody gets too excited, that Sonia Sotomayor or Elena Kagan or Ketanji Brown Jackson have suddenly become constitutionalists, let's remember the 14th Amendment gives more power to the states. Okay, and that's what this Colorado attorney was arguing for the state of Colorado for the 14th Amendment. It actually gives more power to the states. Now, let's not forget that to a leftist, a liberal, a Democrat, they want all power centralized in Washington, D.C. They don't want states to have power. They want to have full control over the entire country from a small cabal of people in Washington, D.C. So that's why, if you think that they're, suddenly liking Trump and trying to support him, it has nothing to do with that. They don't like this amendment because they don't want states having any power. They want all the power to be centralized in Washington. Let's remember Barack Obama centralized health care. It's all controlled by the federal government now. They want to control everything. They're talking about centralizing the law enforcement in this country in Washington, D.C. Everything they want to come out of this small group of people in Washington, because remember, if states have power, they might be able to do things a little differently than maybe the federal government would want them to.
Right.
Don't forget what Greg Abbott's dealing with in Texas right now. He's trying to protect his border as his oath requires and as his state's constitution requires for him to protect the state of Texas, to protect his borders, but yet the federal government is trying to prevent that. So again, they want all power centralized in Washington. They don't want Greg Abbott or any other state to have the power to do what they want to do. So let's not get too excited, but we'll be glad that they rule in Trump's favor. It's going to be a 9-0 ruling, and Trump's going to be on the ballots. I want to mention what you talked about Biden being impeached. So here we are in the last year of his presidency. Impeachment is meaningless unless it is followed up by an indictment and the guy being thrown out of office. Let's remember, Trump got impeached twice. Impeachment doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Okay? It might be a blemish on the person's record in the history books, like an asterisk or something like that. But it's really meaningless, okay? You got to get rid of the guy. But here's the thing. Everybody's panicking like, oh, if we get rid of Biden, then we have Harris. But let's remember, neither Biden nor Harris is running the country anyway. If Joe Biden got a bad batch of ice cream today and dropped dead, Kamala Harris would become the president and nothing would change because neither one of them is running the country anyway.
Right.
Okay? I would say leave Biden where he is because Trump is going to destroy him. What happened yesterday with what was released in that report and then Biden's performance the other night, he basically just lost the 2024 election. So let's leave him in there. Trump is going to destroy him. We don't want them putting in a Michelle Obama or something like that, like some people are suggesting, because then there's a risk, well, maybe he wouldn't win. So let's leave this guy in there. Trump's going to destroy him. And what they really need to do, the person they really need to get rid of is Alejandro Mayorkas.
Yes.
Because he's the one that's doing what he's doing at the border. When Alejandro Mayorkas stated before Congress, he said, quote, "It is my testimony today that the border is secure." So the same guy who said that is now claiming the border is not secure, that they've been saying so for 10 years. Okay? Well, wait a minute. That means you lied before Congress. So forget impeachment with Mayorkas. He should be shackled and handcuffed and let off to jail. He lied to Congress. That is a crime.
Yeah.
He should be in jail.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, so let's just leave Biden where he is because he's done. That you just watched if you remember this because you're old enough like I was. And it's almost 50 years to the day when Nixon was swirling the drain.
Yeah.
And he was in lockdown at the White House, and they were trying to survive the Watergate thing. And then, of course, Nixon said, "I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow." Well, Joe
Nixon.
Biden, and that was in August of 1974. So it's almost 50 years. Joe Biden effectively resigned the presidency the other night. And I'll tell you what, he's not going to go. He's not going to step down. They're going to be phone calls made to him, to Jill. Don't let him run. Don't let him run. And if he insists that he's running, then he's going to run. And then the only thing they have left is to give him a bad batch of ice cream and get rid of him that way. And maybe Hillary Clinton will be the person who makes the ice cream. Okay. And because you know what they call a person who actually makes ice cream, John? No. You know what the technical term for that person is?
What?
They call them spinsters.
Okay. Andy, thanks for the call. I thought spinster referred to something else. All right. We'll go with that. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We have other things to talk about here. But, of course, the big news, Trump with the Colorado ruling before the Supreme Court, and Joe Biden. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm coming back with more of the show after these words.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. This afternoon going to be mostly cloudy and warm with a stray shower hanging out with high 64. We've got a storm on the way early next week. Check AccuWeather.com often. Partly to mostly cloudy, mild this evening with low 47. A bit cooler tomorrow, cloudy in the morning, then sun and clouds in the afternoon with a high 52 to wrap the weekend. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
If you want to email me during the week, it's very simple. You email jdadv1 at Comcast.net. jdadv1 at Comcast.net. That's all you do. And whether it's a pro or a con or whatever it is, program suggestions, we take them all on and we welcome your emails. jdadv1 at Comcast.net. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Stephanie is in Ocean City. Good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. I'm calling about the Supreme Court hearing that took place on February 8th.
Yes.
And I would like to bring up something that no one is talking about. On January 17th, there is a filing that you could look up under the Supreme Court. It's an amicus brief by a lawyer by Mendel Hall, is his last name, Tory Maris, We the People. So what had happened was over 3,000 American citizens, absolutely no politicians, all filed in every state of the United States of America, including Puerto Rico. And when you look up the filing, you can see everyone's name under every state. There was 53 that filed in the state of New Jersey. The people that couldn't meet the deadline, they actually wrote letters with their pens to the Supreme Court and said that we support this filing, the amicus brief, which represents our 9th and 10th Amendment, not the 14th Amendment, like every other politician in Trump's amicus brief represented it. Why this is important, our 9th Amendment gives us, to the Supreme Court, who read it, and Justice Kavanaugh referred to it on February 8th court hearing, that we have a natural right, and no government, state or federal, can abolish our 9th Amendment. That's our natural right. they have no power over us and that we make decisions based on our free will. And that's it. Our 10th Amendment says we, the people, are telling you, government, how we are going to vote. And it's game over. It's been read and it's done. So everyone who's listening, we had the power. We, the people, did it. We are just normal people. And we actually had people call Trump's lawyers and say, hey, Trump's lawyer, guess what? We got your back. Please refer us when you do your consult at the Supreme Court. And this is how it is. And that's what happened. And it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
No one's talking about it. Nobody.
No, this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yes, and like I said, the receipt is, you can look it up, Supreme Court filing, amicus brief. It's under Mendenhall, Tory Maris, and We the People. And you can look it up and you can see all our names. And we didn't have to pay a dime.
You know, it's interesting because, Stephanie, if this is the case, does that not negate the 14th Amendment?
Well, the 14th Amendment really is saying that no one has the right to say who's on the ballot, regardless if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever party. We the people say who's on the ballot. Plus, let's think about this. If somebody did an insurrection in Washington, D.C., how does Colorado have the right to say that somebody committed a crime? That's like, hey, I'm going to say, yo, John, you committed a crime in New Jersey, and I'm going to go file in Alaska, and I'm going to take you to court in Alaska. Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And like I said, we the people, we stepped up, and we did it. It's game over. And that's it.
Okay.
So you can look it up. The other thing I'll tell you real quick is Julian Assange is being extradited to the United States of America. And we need you can research a little bit about that. We really need to support him, too.
Okay.
But I just wanted to bring light, and you can look it up, and thanks for letting me talk.
Thanks for calling. Well, you know what? I always learn something every week on this show. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. And we do have a rare moment in the show where we have some open lines. So if you want to jump in, this is a good time to do that. 609-407-1450. I got good news and bad news for the Andy Kim campaign. Andy, of course, is our congressman. He's not our congressman, but I think he's represents parts of our district. Andy is running for Senate. He's running for the seat that will probably be vacated by Bob Menendez, the crook. He's leading Moneybags Tammy Murphy in the polls, but he's trailing in the fundraising department. Wonder how much of Phil's money is going to Tammy's campaign. She's raised, so he's ahead in the polls by 12 points, but she's raised $3.2 million so far, and he's raised only 1.7. You think maybe Phil kicked in a little bit for Tammy? Could you see another 6 years of a Murphy in New Jersey? I mean, I couldn't, but nevertheless, we have contacted Andy Kim's office a couple of times to try to bring him on the show, and have not been successful. But we will continue to do so. So we'll keep trying. But it's interesting that he's ahead in the polls, but she's ahead in the money. And you have to think that maybe that wins over in the long run. But we'll see. We'll see. But Menendez has got to go. I mean, that's a given. He has got to go. And, I mean, and he's arrogant enough that he's going to run again. I'm sure he's going to try to run again. And whether or not the Democratic State Committee lets him run, I don't know. But, you know, a guy like that is just arrogant, like he ran before when he was a bribery charge. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll probably get to this in the in the third hour this thing about a Michigan jury convicting a school shooter's mother. This is a very, very, very interesting case, and we'll talk about that. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5, and I'm John DeMasi. Final thoughts in hour number 2, right after these words.
Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, and we're going back to the phone, 609-407-1450. Let's talk to Linda in Absecon. Linda, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, hi, John. And I love that you have a third hour. I always like that. But then I'm glad Donio's coming, too, because I enjoy listening to him.
Yeah. He was in Florida this week, so I think we're going to get him on next week. So.
And Bob Progner was very interesting regarding Tucker Carlson.
And you know what? He's up next after you.
Oh, good. Hi, Bob. So anyway, Tucker Carlson he's a flamethrower, and he is. You couldn't wait for the first 20 minutes of his show.
Yeah,
it was everything.
Yeah,
and he's interesting, and I love him, and but. They may be bringing him up on treason any day. But, of course, it was all right when Chris Wallace was chomping at the bit to have the Russian president, you know. He really wanted Vladimir Chris Wallace, but that never happened now, did it? Yeah, so I figure if Tucker, we may see him lose his citizenship. Or who knows what? I don't even know if President Trump becomes a nominee. I don't know if he may even be assassinated. Is that a horrible thing for a citizen to say?
Yeah.
But is this not the country that we live in? They're capable of doing anything.
Well, yeah, sure.
To anybody, anytime. And so that's the country we live in.
That reminds me, I'll never forget this. This was so vivid in my memory. I went to Dallas to see the Eagles play a game. And in your downtime, you do tours and stuff. So somebody said, take the Dallas School Book Depository tour. And they showed you where Lee Harvey Oswald, shot the president, and so on and so forth. And then they take you on a tour of the grassy knoll. And it was like, if anybody would have shot the president, and I believe that they shot him from there, it was like shooting ducks in a pond. It was just... The shot was unbelievable. And the shot from the school book depository on the 6th floor, it was like way down and turned, and it made you believe that there's no way Oswald acted alone in that. So much for conspiracy theories, and that's what always makes me think of that when you said that. Well,
and then of course we have Tucker, who a deal breaker for him is abortion.
Yeah.
He does not like it. Well, I mean, for crying out loud, abortion is to health care what slavery is to job growth.
Yep.
We shouldn't be having abortion like we have here in this country. It is, there isn't a word to describe it, really.
Yeah, well, that's always a hot button, Linda.
It shouldn't be. I mean, it should be a mother and a father raising their children saying a novel thing that's only been around since the 50s, where it was probably last practice. But when you wear that white dress, you're a virgin. And when the marriage bed's not to be defiled, that's when you have children. And, little things like that. That God says, if they make people happy, that's what makes life good. God doesn't want you to have a bad life. He wants you to have a good life. But you can't go around killing people.
Imagine that for a concept, Linda.
My husband and I were talking about
mother and father raising a family. That's
my husband and I were talking about that this morning because we both don't have our parents any longer. But we were talking about being married, and back then, when the girl wore white, she wore white, and that was back in the 50s.
Yeah, that's right.
And mom usually said in conversation, marriage is a good thing, sex is a good thing, but it's between a husband and a wife, and it belongs in marriage. I said, you know what? I know in my family, it worked out well the way my mother raised her girls. And in a lot of families in the 50s, in my husband's families.
Yeah.
But look what kind of country we are. We are an amoral SHIT.
Yeah. Yeah. If you spell it out, does it make you found a way to beat the buzzer, Linda.
Yeah. Well, I like Chris.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call, Linda. Appreciate it. Bob and Cape May. Bob, good morning. Bob?
Yeah, good morning, John. Hey, feelings mutual, Linda. I really enjoy your calls, and you are correct. So many of our problems in this society stems from the disillusion of the family. It's a real shame.
Yeah.
So I want to just reinforce Andy and Seth brought up a very, very smart observation, and that is we shouldn't really just blame Biden for all the country's trouble. In fact, the real blame should be, as Seth and Andy pointed out, it's the people that are controlling Biden. We know now definitively that he is just the puppet. It's the puppeteers. Probably Barack Obama and his cabal of leftist communists that want to destroy this country. Those are people that are responsible for the inflation, for the craziness that happened in Afghanistan, our soldiers getting killed. John, in Afghanistan, that tragedy, 13 Marines or 13 service members killed. We had a sniper ready to take out that suicide bomber, but the rules of engagement were such because of our military has become neutered, primarily under Obama. The rules of engagement were you had to get permission first to take out this suicide bomber. That's why that bomb was detonated in Afghanistan, because this sniper was too late, and he was too late because he had to get permission. That's a fact, John.
Yeah.
That is an indisputable fact. And I don't know why there's not more outrage about this. So anyway, that's getting off on a tangent, but all of our woes, the immigration crisis, the craziness with what's going on in Europe, it all stems back to the people that are controlling Biden, and that's who we need to point the finger at. It's not just this. Mark Levin, called them an imbecile. Our Biden, our commander-in-chief, so apropos, so correct. Don't blame the imbecile. Blame the people that are controlling them.
Yeah,
that's the point I want to make here. So
they're doing him a disservice. They're hanging this guy out to dry. And
John, he's really turned into, and really in 2020, they knew it already.
Yeah.
An empty vessel that they could control.
Right. That's right.
He looks like, we think he's a benign old man.
Yeah.
Not going to cause any problems. A good intentioned old man.
Okay, Bob, we're up against it. Thanks for the call. Hour number 2 rapidly coming to a close. In fact, it's in the books. Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hour number 3 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Did you hear that the high for today, 64? Did spring come in yet? Next week it'll be like 32 or something, It always works out that way. Talk with a Purpose is the show. Hour number 3 underway. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And I'm John DeMasi. We're going to get into a couple things here. This thing about a Michigan jury, very significant. And we'll talk about that. But first, we're going to talk to Keith in Northfield. Keith, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Johnny, how are you?
How you doing?
Good. Shouldn't a Republican platform be to go out and volunteer at the polls so they don't do it again?
Do what again?
About the voting.
Oh.
With the ballots and all that. Shouldn't a Republican platform be to get out there and volunteer and be poll overseers?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a logical thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen again, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's all the point I just wanted to make.
Okay.
Nobody says anything like that anymore.
Well, that used to be, they used to get all kinds of volunteers, But now, in today's world, we got mail-in ballots and ballot boxes and all this kind of stuff, and that's it's a new world, as they say. So.
Well, I'm still living in the old one for some reason.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for the call, Keith. Appreciate it. 609-407-1450. I wanted to talk about this Michigan jury, and I think this was significant because they may do this again. A Michigan jury convicted a school shooter's mother of involuntary manslaughter Tuesday. Jennifer Crumley was convicted because she was held responsible for her 15-year-old son who killed 4 students in 2021 in Pontiac, Michigan. She is the first parent in the U.S. to be held responsible for a child carrying out a school attack. Prosecutors say Jennifer Crumley had a duty under Michigan state law to prevent her son, who was 15 at the time, from harming others. She was accused of failing to secure a gun and ammunition at home and failing to get help for Ethan Crumley's mental health. This opens up a whole can of worms. I mean, it really does. All those shooters who killed students in various schools, and you can name all the towns across the country, should their parents be held responsible? Should law enforcement now go after the parents of those killers? And what if a child harms another child, doesn't kill him or her, but abuses them. Again, should the parents be held responsible? At what point are they held responsible, and at what point is the child held responsible? You see the vagaries of this? But of course, when you're a parent, you're supposed to be held responsible for the child until, I guess, he's 18. By the way, in a journal found by police, Ethan Crumley wrote that his parents wouldn't listen to his pleas for help. Gee, have we not heard that before? Oh, my parents didn't listen to me. They didn't understand me. I thought that was a little lame, but nevertheless, 15 years old, doesn't lock up the ammunition, doesn't lock up the gun, and apparently, and again, I don't know how she would have known, but there may have been indications of a mental problem. So we don't know. But are there any answers to this? At what point do you believe a child, and at what point do you question the parents? This case opens up a lot of questions in the parent-child dilemma. I don't know. Let's talk to Tom in Pleasantville. Tom, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. Parents have to start being parents, and unfortunately, there's going to have to be a few that are going to have to be held to task because of their child's actions. You might go through 100, maybe 1,000 parents once you start to be diligent about holding parents responsible. And you know what's going to happen after 100 or 1,000 parents are arrested or thrown into jail? You know what's going to happen? Parents are going to start parenting again. Yeah. They're going to start to rethink, wow, I better start training I better start drawing the line in the sand before judges and police officers draw the line in the sand and arrest your freaking kid because you're not paying attention. It's only going to take a thousand, a few hundred parents, and then watch what happens. It's easy. Yeah. There's no questions. It comes down to how are you raising? And there's going to be kids that are a little mentally, then the parents need to pay attention. There needs to be more programs to help these parents get their kids the kind of help they need, because you know what? If I don't get my kid right and he goes out and does something, I'm going to freaking jail. Yeah. You're going to create a mantra among parents to parent again. John, have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks for the call. Yeah, what a novel concept. Parenting. I remember, let me see, I think I was 16, and I believe I came home around 11:30, okay? And boy, did I get a verbal lashing, and then I got the belt. And it was just that I got home late. I mean, 11 o'clock was the curfew, and I got home 11:30. And I think it was because we had to walk, and the school was far from where I lived. And, you know, but I think back, some of the things that kids get away with today. I remember when my godson was about 16, and he actually was he was living in my house, and he was in his room, and he had a rule that he could stay in his room with his girlfriend, but he couldn't shut the door. And my mother was at the house at the time, and my mother said to me, the door was shut, by the way, and she said, do you allow that? And now I'm being scolded for him. And I said, not really. She said, if that was you and your father was alive, you wouldn't be here today. So So much for parenting today and parenting back then. Andy and Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome back.
Yeah, John, regarding that case, people need to dig deeper than just reading the headlines on that.
Yes.
In fact, this child was doing drawings of shooting people and killing people in his school, which the teachers saw. The school had made multiple phone calls to these parents about the things that they were seeing in their child, and the parents didn't do anything about it. As a matter of fact, the parents, he was even in school trying to, I believe he was Googling where to get ammunition in the area or something like that. And the parents bought him a gun after he had already shown signs that he wasn't right, that he could do something like this. So it isn't as simple as it may seem. I think, there are cases where, the parents didn't know. You could argue that, although I think that's lame, actually. But in this case, it was clear that the parents had been notified by the school. They knew what was going on. They told the parents ignored it. They bought him a gun after he had exhibited these behaviors, and then they left the gun unsecured. So in this case, I think that it was a good ruling, and the father's going to be on trial in March. It's a shame that you have to do this in order to get parents to do their jobs. There are a lot of people today, and actually for many years now, there are a lot of people who want to have kids, but who don't want to be parents.
Yeah.
And I see these people all the time. They want to get married and they want to have kids, but they still want to live like single people. Going out and partying with their friends and taking the trips and, smoking dope and hanging out. And then their kids they have what they call free range kids now. There was a story some time ago about this mother, she calls her children free range kids. She basically lets them do what they want to do and learn on their own. So, it's unfortunate. It seems that God gives the people who are most unqualified to raise kids, he makes them the most fertile for some reason. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, so there's more to this story than the headline.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for informing us of that. Andy, thanks for the call again. Greg and Absecon. Greg, good morning. Welcome back.
Mr. Massey, good morning.
Morning, sir.
I think with this case, they're going to open a Pandora's box. They have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah.
What about somebody that buys the kid the car?
Yeah.
Is it going to be the car?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to stop with a gun. You can forget about that. It won't stop at all.
Yeah.
Because if the society can find somebody to blame, that's exactly the way we do things.
Yeah.
We have a government, that's all the hell they do.
Yeah.
Spend money and find someone who caused the accident or caused the situation.
Yeah.
And then it's just like the border. They want to put one man from across, and that's going to solve the problem as far as the borders are concerned.
Yeah.
They came up with the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's usually what they're after.
Yeah.
And they can cleanse their hands and go on into the sunset.
Yeah. And they tried to
got to knock this crap off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they tried to impeach Mayorkas.
Right. The one thing they go right over. The teacher was aware of the problem. The parents didn't do anything. What should the teacher have done?
Yeah, that's true. What I mean, really, your hands are tied at that point.
Right. Well, she could have referred it to the people that could do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's departments all through government.
Yeah.
As far as, problem children, and the parent, they can chastise them, but taking them to court, I'm sorry. it's a stretch.
Yeah.
And I think they're opening. We're going to do something we will regret because we're going to be responsible for anything a parent does.
Yeah. That's
and it's not going to stop with a gun.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I mean, this opens up, and Greg, thanks for the call. It opens up a can of worms. Because what if, a child does something and he doesn't kill another child or he hurts them and, well, you're going to take him to court? And, this just opens up a can of worms. Whatever happened to parents? Being parents. Oh, boy. When I think back to some of the things that I wasn't allowed to do, that today it's what? I wasn't allowed out of my mother's sight. And the way our neighborhood worked, there was a portion where she could look out the window at a certain point, and then where she couldn't see out the window at another point, I wasn't allowed past that. So I had a window of opportunity. It was only within, if I can't see you, you can't go there. That's basically what she said. Never forget that. 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll have Rodney, and then we'll have Linda, and maybe you at 609-407-1450. More Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
If you would like to email me during the week, it is very simple. jdadv1@comcast.net. Simple. jdadv1@comcast.net. Email me anything you like, program suggestions, comments, pro or con. We take them all on. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, at Talk with a Purpose, is our Facebook address. And it is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5, 609-407-1450, our number here in the studio. Rodney is in EHC. Good morning, Rodney. Welcome.
Oh, yes. I'd like to say that there were a lot of complaints about the Stanley Village over in Atlantic City. We had another place over here at Egg Harbor Township that had a lot of elderly people who were all evicted from the place. And there was about 35 people who were evicted. And we had perfect heating and air conditioning in the summertime, and perfect running hot water. And we were all evicted. I'm one of them. And I don't know why the other people are not calling in and complaining.
Why were you evicted?
We were evicted because there was an ordinance that said we were not permitted to be there in the summertime. I mean, in the wintertime.
Huh? That doesn't sound right.
No, it does not sound right. It was a perfectly good mobile home park, and Sonny McCullough claimed that it was a campground. It could not be a campground because there was no place, there was no places there for people to go camping. It was too many buildings there. You don't go camping where there's a whole bunch of buildings. It was a mobile home park, and it was right up there on 559, and we were all evicted, and I was one of the people who was evicted.
Well,
I had to claim every place there had perfect heating because I bought a full-size heater, and those places are perfectly heated in the winter time. It was ridiculous. We were all evicted, and not only on top of that, I bought a full-size roof for my neighbor. It cost me $5,000.
Well, I would think that you have a case against something, and I would probably call my congressman or your state representatives, and that would be Don Guardian, Claire Swift, and Vince Palestina. I would call them and see where it could go, because I really think you got a case there. 609-407-1450. Linda is back. Linda, good morning.
Hey, thanks for letting me come back. Regarding that gun issue, which really is awful, and it's. I mean, there just has to be more answers, and parents have to do the obvious. You just don't let guns be available to your children. I mean, we have a gun, and when the kids were little, I mean, we had keys that kept it locked up. And also, I'm so proud of your parents. No girls in your room, huh? Beautiful. That's right. My husband wouldn't tolerate that. There was no boy going up in our daughters just because they were classmates. Nothing like that. That wasn't going to go on here.
Believe me,
this wasn't going to happen.
When I think back to that, and a buddy of mine who we still are in touch, his parents let him in his room with a girl, and you know what happened? She got pregnant.
Oh, shocking. I
mean, and I remember my mother saying, well, she let him up there with a girl in his room, and what do you expect?
I know our son, when he was in college, he sort of put us in a precarious situation. He had, I guess this is when computers started doing, it wasn't Facebook, it was something, a way of communicating. And lo and behold, this girl was coming down to visit us from Texas. And she was going to be a guest at our house that we did not know about.
Oh, jeez.
So, really, these are obnoxious kids when they're teenagers.
Yeah, they are. They are.
So, all of a sudden, this happens, and so we acquiesced to it. I mean, she was welcome in our home, and she could be a guest for a bit. And we said to our son, "You're sleeping downstairs. She's upstairs in your room, and no visiting to be had. That's just always so he got it, and I don't think he never did it again. So, but anyway, you know, and also talking, you know, our public schools, and if we had good legislators and good people in council and good city fathers, they don't even call them city fathers anymore, but they're certainly not doing the job. You know, America was founded as a Christian nation,
yes,
with a Christian constitution,
yes,
and clearly that's a Judeo-Christian constitution that can never be separated. And you had it was Patrick Henry. You know, we really need these people on school boards. Somebody has to say, everybody's afraid, you know, get the 10 Commandments, and I want them posted in the classroom next to the President of the United States. And we are a Christian nation. Patrick Henry, when he said something like this, it cannot be emphasized too clearly and too often that this nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians, not on religion, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this reason, peoples of other faiths have afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom here. I mean, they could come here and they could benefit. They could have prosperity, asylum, and freedom. But Patrick Henry is telling them, you're coming to a Christian nation. And now we can't even call on a federal holiday. We can't even say it's Christmas. It's a winter holiday.
Yeah.
They're getting paid.
Jeez.
They're getting paid for the holiday. It's a legal holiday, and it's called Christmas. And but that can't be said.
Yeah, you know, and that's another pet peeve of mine. You know, You remember we used to say Merry Christmas?
Yeah.
Now it's Happy Holidays. You can't say
not. I know.
It's just ridiculous, you know.
But let me just go out saying this. Let me tell you, John. You know, when you're kids, and I know I'm a kid in school, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, and I know the 10 Commandments being in a classroom saved a young boy's life down south. I've told that story on the radio. But I would be someone who would look up at those 10 Commandments, and I would probably have had them memorized. And if I ever heard, I'd probably be going home saying, Mom, thou shalt not kill. And we'd probably be talking about it. But these little kids have no morals to look at. Maybe there's no morals going on in the house. Don't steal. Don't lie. How is that hurting society? Please.
It's not. And you know what, Linda? We had to memorize the 10 Commandments in Catholic school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're a Catholic.
Oh, come on.
You're Catholic.
Oh, yeah. You kidding me? that was grounds for expulsion, not knowing the 10 Commandments. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for the call again. Yeah, I remember that, boy, memorizing the 10 Commandments. What else are we going to talk about here today? We've covered just about every topic. This bipartisan border bill has bitten the dust. And I don't know where it fell apart, but it was blocked by the Senate Republicans. By the way, it was more than a border bill. What they included was $60 billion in wartime aid to Ukraine. When are we going to stop giving money to Ukraine? I guess when Biden leaves, right? $14 billion for Israel. It was Republicans who insisted that the bill be combined with the foreign aid. Meanwhile, on the House side, Speaker Mike Johnson rejected the Senate bill. He said that he wanted to handle wartime aid for Israel and Ukraine in separate packages. And I think that's how it should be. I mean, giving more money to Ukraine, how much have we given them so far? I mean, I lost count, and you probably did too. $60 billion again, and putting that in with the border bill. And from what I understand, President Trump told Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, nah, this isn't going to fly. So who knows? But it's a dead issue for now, and that's as it should be. We are Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Couple of open lines here in the studio, so if you want to jump in, good time to do that. 609-407-1450, that's our number here, 609-407-1450. We are still talking about that Michigan jury that convicted the school shooter's mother of involuntary manslaughter, and we have since found out a lot of red flags in this particular case. Jennifer Crumley convicted because she was held responsible for her 15-year-old son. She was convicted. We can talk about that still. 609-407-1450. The border bill and, of course, Trump and the Supreme Court and President Biden, who was considered too old to be convicted and maybe too old to be president. All of that stuff. 609-407-1450. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. You're invited to attend a very important and informative seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center Meeting Room 5. The seminar will feature Joe Yankovich, host of The Heart of Your Money, heard right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Joe will discuss tax management and income strategies in retirement, and of course, will answer any and all of your questions. Stay informed and up to date. Attend this important seminar Tuesday, February 6th and Tuesday, February 13th at 6 p.m. at the Stockton University Campus Center, Meeting Room 5. You can register online. Simply go to jmlfinancialgroup.com and click on the link. See you at the seminar.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. This afternoon going to be mostly cloudy and warm with a stray shower hanging out with I-64. We've got a storm on the way early next week. Check AccuWeather.com often. Partly to mostly cloudy, mild this evening with low 47. A bit cooler tomorrow, cloudy in the morning, then sun and clouds in the afternoon with I-52 to wrap the weekend. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose, 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. A couple of minutes left of the show today. A very lively show, I must say. Let's talk to Glenn in Dennisville. Glenn, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, John, this is I'll take a kind of a walk on the wild side with you for a minute.
Okay.
Smarter options. All right, what's that pertain to? We're talking about the curtailed distractions of no affordable rentals in, the Cape May area, Atlantic County, same thing. It seems like you cannot shift gears if you cannot find affordable housing.
Yeah.
And nobody is really pushing this thing, and it's a big conundrum. It backs up a lot of people that want to advance and shift gears. Not to mention that there could be some economic advantages to be able to renovate the old places that should be torn down or renovated.
Yeah.
They're out there. All right, that's number one. All right, the other thing, the Trump organization that says, hey, look, we want to know what you think. I said, look, change your logo. Why not change it to let's keep America together. You know, kind of a double meaning in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm kind of a guy that thinks along the sidelines, and I'm trying to see tomorrow. All right. So if this connects to that, and this makes sense, then it seems like we're going to go there. So hopefully that's how the presidential elections go. And I hope Mr. Trump can pull the country together, and let's keep it together.
Yeah, I hope so. But you're right about the rents. Boy, I tell you what, the rents in Atlantic and Cape May County have gone through the roof. I mean, it's really, it's unbelievable. And it's only been the last couple of years that's been the case.
If we square away, you know, let's say the immediate horizon, which is you tighten up the border, you get the illegal issue under control, and a concerted effort to steer the ship of state in the right direction, maybe we have a future.
Yeah. But the way it is right now, unless something changes, we don't have much of a future. That's for sure. You know, it just, I really don't know where we're going. And I hope, I hope we get Trump in there and straighten it out.
I could make it entertaining for you. This is way beyond terrestrial radio.
Okay.
You guys never talk about this. And I had talked to, you know, a few people. And, you know, Coast to Coast is George Norrie's program. And for years, you know, it was on 1020 out of Ocean City.
Yeah.
And, all right, here's the kicker. I experienced personally in Santa Barbara in the year of 1977 on the beach, not one, but I'd say 50 to 75 UFOs above the beach. And I looked up for 45 minutes, and I got a kink in my neck, and I started to think that. And I couldn't pull my eyes off. People walked off the beach after this. When they dissipated, you know, after that thought crossed my mind, these ships started to disappear. And people didn't talk, and I didn't remember this for 40 years. All right, so what's that lead to? Now we are getting indications that we are going to have a visitation in 26, somewhere in that particular area. It's going to be, hey, we're here. But in the meantime, it's incremental. There's too many sightings out there, and there's a lot of information that's coming out of the dungeons that has not seen the real light yet. People haven't really understood what the implications are for the future. If we become part of the cosmic, the club, so to speak, maybe we could step up to the plate and be admitted if we get our act together.
Yeah, that's for sure. Glenn, thanks a lot for the call. Bob and Cape May. Bob is back. You missed us, right?
Oh, sure did. I'm still looking for those UFOs outside my windows now, John. But hey, look, the immigration bill here. What a disaster!
Yeah.
Trump and Speaker Johnson were right to just absolutely put it on the shelf. Allowing 5,000 immigrants in the country, limiting it to that. What's that all about?
Yeah.
You're still breaking the law, number one. Number two, the problem isn't current legislation that is insufficient. It's a willingness to enforce the law. That's the problem. So, but I want to relate something to you that has to do with immigration. And the great Tucker Carlson did an interview with a fellow named Brett Weinstein, who was a biology I think he was a biology professor out in Washington State. He was fired because he wanted to continue teaching class when they had some kind of a Black Lives Matter protest. And this guy It's not a conservative. Brett Weinstein is always been kind of a leftist center guy, but he's a very fair-minded guy. And anyway, he went to the Darien Gap. Now, the Darien Gap is that dangerous connection between Central America and South America. Very, very, very treacherous landscape. Very, very, people have a real problem just with the geographic features of it. Very hard to get through. It's lawless. So these so-called migrants that go through the Darien Gap, they get robbed. They die just because it's very hilly terrain, deep jungle. But it's interesting though, and Brett Weinstein went to the Darien Gap, and then when you are able to get across to Central America, the migrants have camps where they rest, recoup, and get on their way toward America. Now, a lot of them, when they go through the Darien Gap, get robbed and raped, and it's very, very, it's a horrible, horrible journey. But what's interesting about it, these camps are situated over in Central America. There are various camps, and the migrants are very willing to talk to journalists. They were opened and they spoke to Brett Weinstein and his production crew, all except for the thousands. The Chinese have their own camp. Thousands of military-aged men. The Chinese do not want to talk to journalists. They're very, very, very hush-hush. Okay? So what are these military-aged Chinese young men, what's their mission? What is their mission coming over here? Okay? They come over our border. Our clear adversary in the world is Communist China. There is no doubt about that. What are they doing coming over here? What will they do once Red China initiates hostilities against us? What are they going to do? The Chinese hackers have already been suspected in causing all sorts of problems with our power grids. In the computer age we live in, our power grid is susceptible to hacking and all sorts of other things in our society that make us a viable society. Anyway, what I'm pointing out to is this open border. There are so many issues with this, and this is really one of them that we have to worry about. That our national security is being put in jeopardy.
No question about that.
By Biden, yeah, and again, these people are coming here unvetted. You've got, look, when this border gets flooded, the resources of the border agents, they're social workers. What happens? The cartels flood an area. The Border Patrol goes to that area, and then another area is virtually left wide open, and people who are really, really nasty people get entrance to our country.
Right.
So, the cartels get rich. Our taxpayers get poor because we're paying.
That's right.
We're paying for these people. I mean, we're giving them prepaid Visa cards, free lodging, free food. I mean,
yeah.
What? All right. So it's just. But look, there's so much that you can learn on Tucker Carlson's podcast. Okay, they're only $6 a month. It is so much better than a lot of the garbage that you get on TV. If you really want to be an informed citizen, and our country is really in peril now.
Oh, there's no question about it. There's no question about it.
It's worth spending the $6 to go to Tucker Carlson's website, and you will really be a well-informed person. You know, I don't know if it was Linda that mentioned that Tucker might be not allowed back in the country, or that he may be charged with some kind of phony espionage charge for interviewing Putin. That just shows you what kind of a threat he is to the establishment in this country.
Yeah.
You know?
Bob, thanks a lot for the call again. DJ in Summers Point. DJ, good morning. Welcome.
How you doing, John?
Good. How you doing? I'm glad you called, because I was thinking of you when I was talking about this Michigan jury.
Well, they made, in my opinion, they made the right decision.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, these parents had to be held accountable. I'm not saying other parents, because every case stands on its own. The facts of that case.
Yes.
You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
All right. Now, and if you look at this thing, it's a shame that the school officials, I don't know for sure why they didn't get the school resource officer involved or call the local PD and have them there when they were interviewing the parents. You're talking a gun, drawing with a gun involved, possible serious situation. I think it might have played out a little bit better if a police officer was there.
Yeah.
And could get a feel for the parents, answered the questions, their body language, et cetera, et cetera. If you read the things on this case, that gun was only bought about 5 days before the shooting.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. No, I didn't know that.
Yes. And the kid was only 15. You got to question, why would a parent want to buy the son, a 15-year-old, a gun? Did they buy a lockbox for the gun where it could be properly secured? You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Well, and apparently they didn't. They did. Apparently they didn't.
No, because they had, but they saw the drawing, the gun.
Yeah.
And I saw a picture of it briefly, and most parents would be concerned. And if I was a parent, I knew that I bought this gun 4 or 5 days before this interview in the high school. My first question would be to my kid is, where's the gun now? Because they had to have some evidence. They checked to see if the gun was home before they went to the school. All right?
Yeah.
Where is the gun? Is it locked up? Is it in the top of a closet? Is it under the bed? Wherever sometimes people hide guns. You know, what's going on here? And wouldn't it have been nice if somebody, the parents or school officials, searched the gym bag of the kid?
Yeah.
Because that's where apparently it was.
Yeah.
But nobody bothered to search the bag, and then a few hours later you have the tragedy. So it's a shame it happened. All right, I think it was a fair verdict. I mean, this jury didn't have to deliver over 4 or 5 days. You know, they looked at the basic facts and the evidence, and they came up with it wasn't voluntary manslaughter; it was involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, you know, they didn't mean to have or deliberately want the kid to go out and shoot people, but they had a responsibility. And as far as every case that comes up now, they'll use this as a map to charge somebody in another state. No, because every case stands on its own, the facts and the evidence. All these legal experts like to jump on when a controversial case is decided and give their opinions. We'll see. All right.
Yeah.
And you know something? Just a little side thing. You know that kid that shot the 6-year-old that shot the teacher?
Yes.
The mother's doing time on that. she didn't get charged with involuntary manslaughter or anything like that. It was a lesser charge, but she's doing at least a year and a half in jail for her role in that, because she should have done stuff, and I think they charged her with child neglect.
Oh, boy.
So this is going to wake parents up, though, hey, we can be held accountable, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing.
DJ, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate your perspective. Talk with the Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We will have some final thoughts on today's program after these words.
When it comes to you and your family's financial wellness, there are so many things to talk about. We could go on forever. To help guide you along the way, Joe Yakovich has written a book called The Heart of Your Money, Inspiration for Financial Wellness. In the book, Joe talks about longevity, inflation, retirement surprises, and many other topics. For your free copy of The Heart of Your Money, call the office of Joe Yakovich at JML Financial at 856-751-1771 or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. For over 37 years, Joe Yakovich has been helping families throughout the area navigate the difficulties of a sound financial plan. You'll find Joe's approach to be different and not just the cookie-cutter methods that are prevalent in today's world. The path to your financial wellness and or retirement starts with a call to Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. 856-751-1771. 856-751-1771. Or email Joe at jyakovich@brokersifs.com. Joe Yakovich is registered with, and securities and investment advisory services are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Couple of minutes left of the show. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. I guess we'll have one more Trump story. Why not? This is the Federal Appeals Court. The panel ruled unanimously Tuesday that Donald Trump can be put on trial for trying to stay in power after losing the 2020 election. The court says we cannot accept former President Trump's claim that a president has unbounded authority to commit crimes that would neutralize the most fundamental check on executive power, the recognition and implementation of election results. This was from the judges of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. So it looks like his appeal on this one will be denied. But will that mean anything? I mean, we'll see. I don't think it's going to hurt his candidacy. I mean, nothing seems to hurt the candidacy. So that's where, but I kind of expected that, you know. I mean, the other things like the ballot in Colorado, yeah, I kind of knew that was wrong. But this case here, where he was saying he's immune from prosecution because he's president, that apparently doesn't fly. So we'll see where this ends up. But nevertheless, just wanted to tell you on that. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is running as an independent for president, he claims that Trump didn't drain the swamp, although he promised to do that in his first term. So if he gets elected this time, he said, he better drain the swamp. And the swamp is pretty big. Well, what can I tell you? But, I mean, he does make the news once in a while, so we got to report that. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. On that particular topic. So a lot of Trump stuff today, and a lot of court stuff and a lot of parent stuff. We had a lot of stuff, is what I'm saying. We did have a lot of stuff. And with that, we kind of put the wraps on another edition of Talk with a Purpose. As always, we thank Chris Coleman, our program director and producer, who is very happy that Carmen Murata is on tape today. we got to have a show on where in the world is Carmen. I mean, it's one day it's Argentina, one day it's somewhere else, Brazil, Miami, who knows. But thanks to Chris for doing his usual outstanding job. And, of course, thanks to you, our callers, because without you, let's face it, we don't have a show. And the listeners, I mean, we have it all. I'm John DeMasi. Thank you for listening. We will do it all over again next Saturday. Talk with a Purpose right here on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.